Good morning. Thank you for having me on this momentous occasion. I appreciate and am honored to have been named a guest speaker. They say you should talk about what you know. I'm an emergency physician by training, and from the uniform, I consider myself a drummer. I've spent the vast majority of my operational career with the Marines. So while I may not be wearing the cloak of the Marine uniform, I still at heart consider myself on the green side. So let me make it very clear. If you're a healthcare provider in this system or any other system in the United States, you have no question about it, you're in combat every day. There are many similarities that we can draw between what I have experienced on the battlefield that every military provider who's been in combat can experience and attest to on the battlefield that we see every day in healthcare. Specifically in emergency medicine, this could not be more true. I consider the ED the front line, as many folks in the audience probably would agree with me, and many similarities are shared between combat and the ED. We have rapidly changing conditions. We can take the waiting room from 0 to 15 in just under 30 minutes. There's an unpredictable nature about the patients we experience, the patients we're forced to treat, the patients we have the privilege of treating, and the conditions in which we have to treat them. Anybody who worked over Hurricane Sandy would probably attest to that. When we lost power and we were without a CT scanner, we had to adapt, we had to overcome. Potentially hostile. Just a couple of minutes ago, we had a code gray in the ED. We faced a lot of uncertainty with some of the weapons and some of the uncertainties that we have to experience with patients that may come into the ED. We have to work in incomplete and often inaccurate information, and history is often very different from what we've been told to what we actually find out. But at the core of combat, at the core of military, at the core of the emergency department, it requires strong leadership and constant movement in order to succeed. So I'm going to pitch a question to the audience. Everybody in this room is a leader. But what have you done to become a better leader for the people that you serve, the patients that you serve, and for the staff that work with you, under you, for you, and above you? So as any Marine in this audience will know, this has been taught on day one. Correct me, Casper, if I'm wrong. These are the 14 leadership traits of the United States Marine Corps. To make it easy to remember, because during boot camp you are forced to remember a lot of information in a short period of time, acronyms become very helpful. And the acronym that we normally ascribe to is JJ Dig Tie Buck. So I'm going to throw a few quotes, some military, some otherwise, and some images, and just discuss how these 14 leadership traits apply to both the Marine Corps, the military in general, emergency medicine, general medicine, and the practice of medicine. There's 3 basic rules of leadership. I tell this to every corpsman from the time they come on my deck, whatever unit I'm serving in. These are the 3 rules that I promise I will never break to you. These are the 3 things that, regardless of what we're engaged in or what we're faced with, I will ask you to ascribe to without question. Number 1, I'll never ask you to do something I wouldn't do myself. Number 2, you need to know your priorities. Your mission is the ultimate priority. Our mission is to take care of patients. Our second priority should be our people. And very, very last should be ourselves. We should be a selfless and not selfish service. When confronted with a difficult situation, as we often are, remember one thing: stop and think. Rational thought is inversely proportional to panic. The more you panic, the less you can think. But once you have made a decision, you make the best decision possible, and you move forward, and you don't look back. Judgment. I chose to use the quote from Tacitus: reason and calm judgment, the quality specifically belonging to a leader. Every single day, everyone in this room has to make a judgment. Triage nurses in the ED have to decide who goes back first. Physicians rounding need to decide who gets rounded upon first. CT scan, we have to decide who goes to the scanner first. How do you make that judgment? The picture on the right depicts several Marines reacting to an IED. They have to make a judgment. Do they stay in their position? Do they fortify their position? Do they forsake their position? Do they advance? The picture on the left is a mass casualty triage scenario. We have to make a decision about who gets a red tag, who gets a yellow tag, who gets a green tag. And the hardest decision Who gets a black tape? Remember what I said about making a judgment. You make it and you move on. You cannot second guess yourself. You have to have a strong core, a strong spine, and you have to be uncertain or completely certain with what you have decided to do. Justice, and I think this one is probably one of my favorite leadership traits because it really embodies the spirit of military medicine, it really embodies the spirit of the military and healthcare in general. The picture on the right is a hospital corpsman treating an Afghani child, probably about the age of 13 or 14, who has an injured foot. For all intents and purposes, this child was the enemy. He was holding an AK-47 prior to this picture was taken. That corpsman had every right to take that child's life. However, he chose to treat that child when he was injured. The picture on the left is an emergency physician rendering care to a homeless man. Do you practice just health care? Do you treat every single patient as you would your family member? I have no question that that is your practice. That has been my practice, and it has served me well. But I think that the quote embodies exactly what I'm trying to impart. The sword of justice has no scabbard, meaning you never put justice away. That sticks with you every patient you see, every clinical scenario you're engaged in. This is my second favorite, dependability, because this is the core of small unit leadership. I don't know a whole lot about moving large armies, large masses, but I do know something about small unit leadership. And I know that the people who have been in my command have known me to be dependable because they knew that no matter what happened, I would take care of them because they were taking care of me. This is a teaching institution, so I'm going to pitch the question to anybody involved in residency education. What have you done for them lately? On the left, you see a platoon commander giving guidance to several of his Marines on a training scenario inside Camp Lejeune. On the right is a chief resident giving guidance to junior residents during rounds. There are many similarities between these two pictures. Both have a great deal of uncertainty. Both are trying to impart some wisdom that they have learned along the way. What's the purpose of imparting this wisdom? Is it to make yourself seem prestigious? Is it to make yourself feel better? Or is it to carry on the legacy of medicine that we have been taught, all of us in the room, from somebody else? This is the hardest to learn, because integrity is taken for granted until it is challenged. I'm sure everyone on the left, or everyone knows what that picture on the left is. That is the atrocity that happened in Abu Ghraib prison, where our services, for whatever reason, compromised their integrity, whether it was to go along with the crowd, to not have the core strength to intervene when peer pressure became too much. However, on the right, we have our own problems in medicine with integrity. That's the physician who was charged with the outcome for Mr. Michael Jackson's death. The quote, I believe, says it all. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one. And the best embodiment of integrity has simply been, do you do the right thing when no one's looking? When it's just you in the room, do you do the right thing? Decisiveness. Again, this is at the core of emergency medicine. As I said before, you make a decision, you never look back, you just continue to move forward. Dick Cheney said it best, with direct threats require decisive actions. Deciding to intubate a patient can be one of the most difficult decisions in the hospital. Deciding to make an amphibious assault can also be one of the most difficult decisions for a line commander. This is where judgment, justice, prior training, confidence come into play. Tact. How do you deal with adversity? preceding and following those engagements are going to determine the outcome. On the right, we see a very young lieutenant speak with some Afghani leaders. His words, his body language, his actions are going to make the difference whether or not this is a positive engagement or a negative engagement. And it may affect the outcome of their position in Afghanistan. It may change the tide of their entire deployment. On the left, when we give bad news to patients, when we inform patients that their loved ones have passed away, when we discuss treatment options with patients, our delivery, our body language, our persona, teaching and showing people that we actually care about them is what makes the difference. Initiative. Things may come to those who wait, but only the things left by those who hustle. On the left, we have First to Fight, a famous quote for the United States Marine Corps since World War I. And from my alma mater where I did residency, First to Care. I promise you that that poster on the right was no accident. That was drawn off the prior to the left. But initiative is incredibly important because this is how we do research. This is how we find breakthrough drugs and breakthrough treatments and new diagnostic technology. Endurance, one of the hardest to master. The picture on the left is the Quigley. Anybody who's ever been to OCS in Quantico knows about the Quigley. It is probably the most feared obstacle for Marine Corps officer leadership and training. But the quote following that picture is one that I find very reassuring. Relax, you're not going to die. Anybody who's ever worked a night shift in the emergency department can draw a lot of analogies to the one on the left. As we see the physician on the right, probably thinking that he might die from that night shift. Bearing. How does the public view medicine? I'm in a master's degree program right now, and I'm in an economics class. And there are many similarities drawn between the economics when Medicare and Medicaid first started to become a reality under the Kennedy era. And at that time, physicians were trusted, were regarded as model citizens. People trusted the government. People liked their doctor. Is that still the case? Or do people see us in a less than positive light? I can tell you that regardless of what the general public says, your conduct, your bearing is what people will remember and will judge you upon when you deliver care to the patients that you serve. Unselfishness. And I think that this quote, which has been reiterated 1,000 times to me, speaks volumes for unselfishness. The strength of the Corps is the Marine, and the strength of the Marine is the Corps. The strength of this hospital is everyone sitting in this audience. Without you, this hospital would not be able to function. And there's a reason that this hospital continues to win awards every year, because of the people that work in it. It's not the technology, it's not the facilities, it's the people who deliver the care. The reason that this military has been so successful is because of the troops on the ground. Not the technology, but the troops. Courage. Winston Churchill said it best. We sleep safely at night because rough men stand ready to visit violence on those who would harm us. I'm sure the citizens that utilize this hospital sleep safely at night knowing that there's an emergency department and a hospital ready to care for them should they have a heart attack, should they have a stroke, should their loved one become sick, should they have a brand new baby at home who suddenly develops a fever. Knowledge I left blank. Because I'm going to tell you a little parable that's been told to me when I was a lieutenant who first got to Camp Lejeune. There's 3 ways that you can deal with knowledge. You can give somebody the sword, meaning I have the knowledge, But if you come at me to try to obtain that knowledge, I'm going to use the sword to keep you at bay, because I'm interested in protecting myself. I want to be number one. You can give somebody the shield, meaning I have the knowledge, but I'm going to prevent you from learning this knowledge because, again, my motive is based on me. Or you can give someone the step, and you can lead them to the knowledge that you've acquired so that they can surpass where you are currently and become better than you are. So everyone has to make a decision about where they fall in that continuum. Loyalty. This is a little bit long, but I feel that it is very poignant to today and to this facility. I'm going to read it for you very quickly. Cody Green was a 12-year-old kid in Indiana who was diagnosed with leukemia at 22 months old. He loved the Marines, and his parents said he drew strength and courage from the Marine Corps, as he bravely fought the battles into remission 3 times. Although he was cancer-free at the time, the chemotherapy had lowered his immune system, and he developed a fungus infection that attacked his brain. 2 weeks ago, as he struggled to fend off that infection in the hospital, the Marines wanted to show how much they respected his will to live, his strength, honor, and courage. For one Marine, that wasn't enough, so the night before Cody Green passed away, he took it upon himself to stand guard at Cody's hospital door all night long, 8 hours straight. That is loyalty. Enthusiasm. Vince Lombardi said it twice, not once but twice. Confidence is contagious. Unfortunately, so is lack of confidence. And winning is a habit, and unfortunately, so is losing. On those night shifts, on those rounds where there's 60 patients on the census, on those shifts where 2 nurses call out on a holiday weekend and the ward is full, it just takes one person to start complaining. And the tone, the morale, the demeanor of the entire shift will degrade. So in those situations, you have to ask yourself, who am I going to be? Am I going to be the one that's going to rally this team? Am I going to pick them up on my shoulder and make sure that we just get through this shift without anybody getting hurt, all the patients being cared for, and doing our job? Or am I going to be one of the complainers? Enthusiasm goes a long way, and the fastest way to kill a small unit is to start complaining. And one last quote. Douglas MacArthur. A true leader has the confidence to stand alone, the courage to make tough decisions, and the compassion to listen to the needs of others. He does not set out to be a leader, but becomes one by the equality of his actions and the integrity of his intent. It's funny that General MacArthur was not a Marine. He was an Army general, but he hit pretty much half of our leadership traits in that one quote. That says something about the military, that while these qualities may be Marine qualities, they're shared amongst our brethren in different uniforms. So I gave you the 3 principles of leadership. I'm going to give you the 3 truths of leadership. Leaders are not born, they're made. I can make anybody a leader. The question is, do you want to be one? Leaders carry character, morale, confidence, and determination, not titles, badges, or accomplishments. Certainly those in power, those in authority, those in administration have earned their privilege because they have demonstrated leadership. However, we have a saying in the Marine Corps that leadership is like respect. It's earned and never given. Meaning that every time you are promoted, every time you assume a new job title, you have to earn the respect every single day. With that, I thank you very much, and I wish all the veterans a very happy Veterans Day, and I appreciate your attention. Thank you.